The night sea was like a giant mirror reflecting the twinkling stars. The sound of waves lapping against the ship's side sounded like the ocean's breath, steady, deep, sometimes fierce, sometimes calm. At the small harbor of Phuc Hai fishing village, silhouettes of people appeared between the oil lamps and torches, preparing for a long voyage. The sea breeze carried the salty taste of salt and the distinctive fishy smell of fish, mixed with the sounds of laughter, the sound of the ship's engine, the screeching of the anchor chain. All of this combined into a melody of people who had spent their lives attached to the sea. Each tuna fishing boat painted in red and blue, glittering with anchor lights, lined up, cutting through the waves towards the horizon. The high-pressure lamps hanging like giant fireflies illuminated the water surface. The silhouettes of fishermen appeared in the light, shoulders covered in raincoats, heads covered in cloth hats, hands quickly tying ropes, arranging bait, checking the air conditioner, checking the ice compartment. A successful tuna catch is not only due to luck, but is the result of hundreds of meticulous preparation steps. From bait, fishing location, wind direction, even the timing of shining the lights to attract fish. Ocean tuna, the blue gold of the ocean, is not only a fish with high economic value, but also a symbol of resilience. Strength and the desire to go to sea. Each fish can weigh from 50 to 80 kilograms, some even over 100 kilograms, and just one of its flaps is enough to make the steel fishing line vibrate violently. Fishermen must use all their strength and experience to fight with fish. Like a battle between man and nature, between will and destiny. But it is in these tug-of-war battles that one can see the full beauty of the sea profession, arduous yet majestic. The sea surface has now gradually turned a pale silver color. In the distance, on the horizon, the first light of dawn begins to appear, filtering through the thin, smoky clouds. The waves begin to undulate more, the wind blows stronger, and the sound of the ship's engine rumbles like the heartbeat of the ocean gradually waking up. The people on Mr. Sao's boat begin to divide the work. Some drop the line, some prepare the bait, some check the cold storage. The bait is fresh squid, cut into moderate slices, skillfully threaded onto the hook so that the tuna will not suspect. You have to let the bait jump like it's still alive. Then the fish will bite. Mr. Sao reminds, his voice hoarse as if worn by the sea wind for decades. On the boat, everyone has their own rhythm. They worked without much talking, only exchanging glances and a few short sentences. Because at sea, any hesitation or carelessness could cost the whole trip. Sweat mixed with the salty steam, soaking the back of their shirts. Calloused hands tightly gripped the fishing line hundreds of meters long, stretched like a giant bow in the vast sea and sky. And then, a shout rang out, "The hook is bitten! Pull!" The whole boat moved in unison. The rope vibrated strongly, pulled tight, the water splashed white. The giant tuna was struggling at a depth of dozens of meters. Thrashing as if it wanted to tear the surface of the water. Two people held the rope. One person prepared the iron hook. And old Sao commanded the pulling rhythm, slow, steady, bit by bit. After nearly half an hour of struggling, the first fish was pulled up. Its body was silvery, its fins were blue and steely, its eyes were round and big like pearls. The whole boat cheered, laughter echoing over the sound of the waves. The fish were hooked, lowered to the deck, and immediately taken to cold storage, where temperatures were kept below freezing to preserve their freshness. Each tuna caught was a valuable asset, and quick, precise processing determined its value when brought ashore. It had to be bled, washed in cold seawater, and placed in an ice chest, all in less than 10 minutes. The ship returned in the brilliant dawn, when the first rays of the day poured down on the sea like thin golden threads. The waves were gentle, the wind was cool, the smell of salt mixed with the steady sound of the engine. Everyone on board was exhausted, but they could not hide their smiles. In the cold compartment, dozens of tuna lay neatly arranged, their silver bodies shining under the layer of crushed rocks. Each heavy fish was a source of pride, sweat, strength, and sometimes even tears of the children of the sea. They woke each other up, washed their faces with seawater, quickly made a pot of strong tea, and then looked towards the far shore, where the small roof was waiting, where the children's voices called "Dad," amid the smell of dried fish and kitchen smoke. Phuc Hai Port was still foggy at that time, but from afar, they could hear the ship's whistle resounding, signaling the return of the victorious ships. The villagers poured out to the wharf, jostling to watch, several mothers and wives wearing Ao Bar Bar, heads wrapped in scarves, eyes shining when recognizing the familiar ship. The Sao Khan ship has returned. A loud shout rang out. The atmosphere seemed to explode. The ship docked, the anchor rope was thrown into the water, and several young men quickly tied it tightly. Only a moment later, the giant tuna fish began to be brought ashore. 2 people carried each fish, their shoulders heavy, sweat pouring out but their mouths still smiling. Every time a fish was placed on the wooden floor, the whole crowd exclaimed, "This one must weigh 80 kilos. With fat this bright, it must be top quality." The smell of fresh fish mixed with the smell of sea salt spread throughout the wharf. The fish were washed with sea water, dried with cold towels, and then placed in large foam boxes. People classified them on the spot. Fish that met export standards were sent straight to the freezer. Fish that didn't not meet standards, with slightly scratched bodies or broken fins, were transferred to the processing factory. Every step is closely supervised, because tuna is not only a commodity, but also a brand of this sea. In Phu Yen, Bin Din, Khan Hoa, people consider tuna as a source of pride, a symbol of perseverance, bravery and fishing skills of fishermen in the central region. The cheerful laughter, the sound of refrigerated trucks backing into the dock, the sound of fish falling into the barrel, all blend into the sound of a bountiful harvest. Women on the shore start to light the stove, preparing to cook for their husbands and children who have just arrived. The smell of braised fish, the smell of hot rice mixed with the sea breeze makes everyone feel warm. In a temporary tent set up by the port, Old Man Sal Khan sits next to a pot of hot tea, slowly smoking a pipe of tobacco. He looks out at the sparkling water, his voice low. Every fish pulled up is a gamble with the wind and waves. But if you live without going out to sea, you are no longer a fisherman. In the corner of the warehouse, another group of workers are meticulously processing the fish heads and bones, parts that are considered to be discarded, but are used to make broth, fertilizer, or animal feed. Nothing of the fish is wasted, because each part carries within it the value created by humans. From the sea, through the hands of fishermen, through the hands of processors, the tuna has traveled a long journey to become a finished product. It is a journey of labor, of sweat, and of the desire to constantly reach further. In the cold space of the processing factory, where the temperature is always kept below 10 degrees Celsius, white steam swirls around the shiny stainless steel tanks. The sound of sharp knives hitting the plastic cutting board, the hum of machines, the sound of the conveyor belt moving constantly, all blend together into the familiar rhythm of a production day. In the middle of the workshop, dozens of workers in white uniforms, wearing mesh hats, masks, their eyes focused on each slice. They work like artisans, not just workers, because for them, each slice on the tuna body is not simply an operation, but the care, the pride of a profession. Closely linked to the homeland sea. Blocks of deep red ocean tuna are taken out of the freezer and placed on the cutting table. They are slowly thawed with cold seawater so as not to damage the meat structure. Under the white light, the fish body shines bright red like wine. Each fiber of meat is smooth, supple, and gives off a characteristic mild fishy smell. On the other side of the factory is the packaging area. Skilled women sit in rows. In front of them are trays of frozen fish. They check one last time, arrange them neatly in vacuum bags, then heat seal them, and label them. The labels clearly state the origin, batch code, processing date, and fishing vessel name, all transparent and precise to the letter. A young worker whispered over the sound of the running machine, "This fish will fly to Tokyo next week." The restaurant next door has ordered a whole container. That voice is mixed with a hard-to-hide pride, the joy of someone who makes a product that foreigners praise as delicious, standard, and classy. In another processing area, the atmosphere is more bustling. This is where canned tuna is produced, a familiar product line in the domestic market and exported to Europe and America. The fish is steamed in a large boiler, the aroma spreading throughout the factory. When the oven lid is opened, hot steam comes out, fragrant, mixed with the characteristic smell of fatty fish. Workers quickly pick out each block of cooked fish, separate the bones, and put them into tin cans. They add olive oil, pepper, or tomato sauce depending on the type. Then close the lid and put it into a high-temperature sterilizer. When the can cools, the outside is shiny and fragrant, a product ready for the market. The sunset gradually falls. The sea surface in the distance glows copper red again. On the dock, other boats are preparing for the next trip. The sound of engines, the sound of waves, and the voices of people calling each other echo. The life of a fisherman is like that, just coming back and then going. Just touching land and then heading out to sea. The sea never sleeps, and the hearts of people attached to the sea are never at peace. Each tuna is born from the ocean floor. But its value is only truly complete when it passes through the hands of humans, from the fishermen, the transporters, to the processors. A whole chain of links is tightly linked by trust, by responsibility, and by a strong love for the sea.